Hello and welcome to another SWP Showcase. Today I bring you the Great Western Railway 462 number 111 The Great Bear, brought to Train Simulator by Chris at Caledonia Works. Let's start, as always, with a bit of history. Great Western Railway number 111 The Great Bear was built in 1908 under designs drawn up by Churchward. The reason for it coming into being is thought to be one of two scenarios. One, that the GWR board was under pressure from the publicity department to construct the largest engine in Britain, and number two, Churchward built 111 as a testbed for boiler designs. She claimed the title of the UK's first Pacific-type locomotive, which arrangement was primarily chosen to accommodate the large firebox that it required. In 1920, the Great Bear was classified as special in the new power classification system, which was visualised by a black cross inside the red dot. Although her tractive effort, 27,800 pounds, was well in range for the D classification. Her performance was mediocre at best and made little to no improvement on existing designs, with the 23-foot long boiler barrel becoming a burden to performance. Reports also state that the trailing wheel's axle boxes overheated due to their close proximity with the firebox. The Great Bear was restricted to the Paddington-Bristol main line during normal service, but was reported to have travelled as far as Newton Abbot. Up until the introduction of 4073 Caerphilly Castle, the Great Bear was considered the flagship locomotive of the Great Western Railway. Once Collett's Castles gained their foothold in the GWR roster, the Great Bear became a company embarrassment, and in 1924, whilst due for heavy repairs, she was withdrawn and rebuilt as an aforementioned castle, gaining the name Viscount Churchill, but retaining her number. In her Pacific state, she covered just 527,272 miles, and as a castle she was withdrawn and scrapped in 1953. One of her original nameplates survives in the Science Museum. So what do you get with the Caledonia Works pack? Firstly, you get the three livery variants that the Great Bear would have carried from 1913 to 1924. GWR lined 1913 to 1923, GWR lined 1923, and finally GWR unlined. Next, the sounds are provided by Steam Sound Supreme with a great selection of whistles. Along with the sounds, there are the dynamic smoke particles we saw with the Aberdares. You have easy to use period accurate headlamps that are activated by using the control and number buttons. The cab has been beautifully modified with little extras like the 3D firebox and coal, along with the intensity of the fire being synchronised with the exhaust to add extra realism. There is also, as always, an extensive amount of cab views. The tender included is the famous four-wheeled 3,500 gallon variety that the Great Bear was paired with throughout its working life. The tender features water scoop functionality for that extra bit of interest whilst driving or making scenarios. Also provided a quick drive consist for use with the Matrix Trains Concertina sets 1 and 2 available from Steam Sound Supreme. So, what's it like to drive? As we know, the Great Bear was only blessed with 27,800 pounds of tractive effort, a number that was rivaled by the Stars and completely trashed by the Kings and Castles. With heavy loads, she will perform as expected and she'll happily sit at speed for prolonged periods of time. She's thirsty on water and hungry on the coal, but that's to be expected for such a large engine. I have already driven 111 on many different routes and with different loads and found it fun and engaging to drive in each scenario. So all in all, we have another great piece of DLC here from Chris, well modelled, much looked forward to, and given the love that Caledonia Works is known for showing with their products. I have waited a long time to see this class brought to life in Train Simulator. This is certainly well received and plugs another gap in the Great Western family tree. As shown here, we now have all members of the 4-cylinder club. She might have been a relative failure for the GWR and a laughingstock for those Western haters, but to me she represents the eagerness of the Great Western Railway to innovate and adapt. And although the Great Bear wasn't Churchward's best work, she laid the foundations on which Churchward, Collett and Hawksworth all built on in the Stars, Castles and Kings well into BR days. The Great Bear was restricted to the Paddington-Bristol main line during normal service, but was reported to have travelled as far as my fucking face. Firstly, you get the 3 livery variants that the Great Bear would have carried from 1913 to fucking get the dates right, you stupid